The Valor Union had explored thousands of star systems, but none like this. A shattered moon spun slowly around a dead star, black dust drifting in the emptiness. To every scanner, this system should have been lifeless, yet something deep beneath the fractured surface glowed faintly, calling the aliens closer. Commander Kale led the team of explorers. His multi-limbed body moved carefully over the jagged terrain. "Sensors are picking up something," he said, voice tight with curiosity. "It shouldn't exist." The team descended into a cavern, the walls smooth and black, like obsidian. At the center stood a monolith, tall as a mountain, covered in strange carvings. The symbols shimmered faintly in the dim light. "Is it alive?" whispered Tira, the youngest of the crew. Kale shook his head. "I don't know, but it's old, very old." They approached cautiously. A soft hum came from the monolith. Then, slowly, a panel opened, and inside lay a human. Not asleep, not dead. Alive, breathing, and watching them with eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. The translators struggled. The human's voice was calm, measured. "I grant wishes, but only if the rules are obeyed." The aliens paused. Scans confirmed the impossible. The human's brain bent probability. His biology was older than any civilization in known space. He was a relic, yes, but also something far more powerful than they could imagine. Kale frowned. "Rules." "What rules?" The human did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked at each alien carefully, as if weighing their thoughts. "3 rules," he said finally. "Break them, and you may lose more than you wish to gain." The team laughed nervously. Superstitions from a long-dead species, they thought. But Tira felt a chill. She could not explain it. Only that the air around the human seemed heavier somehow, as if reality itself waited for him to speak. Kale stepped forward. "We need to test this." A small wish. Nothing dangerous. The human's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Do not make me choose. Choose carefully yourselves." They debated for hours. Should they wish for knowledge, wealth, power? Finally, they decided on something simple. Restore a dying star. A test, nothing more. The human nodded. He raised a hand, and in an instant, the star flickered. Then, against every law of physics, it burned brighter than it had in millennia. The Valori Union gasped. Their scanners could not explain it. Energy seemed to appear from nowhere. "Impressive," Kale said, awe in his voice. But the human did not speak again. His eyes, old and wise, watched them silently. Something in his gaze hinted at warnings the aliens could not yet understand. Far beneath the surface, carved into the black stone, the first rule glowed faintly. No wish may affect more than one outcome. The aliens did not notice. They only saw power, and they wanted more. And the ancient human waited, patient and unmoving, knowing the consequences were already beginning. The Valor Union could hardly believe what they had seen. A dying star, restored to life with a mere gesture from a human who should not have existed. Commander Kale's pride swelled. He was certain the rest of the universe would bow to their newfound power. "Imagine it," Kale whispered to Tira. "We can fix worlds, destroy enemies, control fate itself." Tira's eyes lingered on the human, sitting silently in the monolith. Something about him felt wrong. Not dangerous exactly, but heavy, like reality itself was holding its breath. "Careful," she said softly. "We don't know the cost." Kale laughed. "Cost? This is a gift." They made their next wish without hesitation. This time, they wished for a fleet of starships, perfectly constructed, faster and stronger than any known design. The human raised his hand, and the alien scanners could not process what happened next. The ships shimmered into existence, engines humming with impossible energy. The Valor Union cheered. Celebration filled the air. They did not notice the subtle changes. Time was lagging in the observation room. Communications between distant ships were delayed by seconds that should not exist. Probability readings fluctuated wildly. A few crew members felt a strange unease, an anxiety that made no sense. The human's eyes, deep and calm, watched them silently. "You have broken the first rule," he said quietly. His voice cut through the celebration. Kale frowned. "What are you talking about?" The human stood slowly. A wish may only affect one outcome. You wished for many. You tried to change more than one thread of reality. That is dangerous. Dangerous? Kale snapped. We are stronger than ever. The human shook his head. You are weaker than you think. Even now, the threads begin to twist. Your actions ripple in ways you do not see. You do not control what you think you control. Tira swallowed hard. She had felt it first. A subtle shift in the air. A momentary lag in thought. She looked at Kale, whose eyes shone with triumph, and knew he would not listen. Then we make another wish, Kale said. One that will secure our empire. Nothing can stop us now. The human's face hardened. Do not make the second wish in arrogance. You will not like the consequences. But the Union ignored him. They were intoxicated by their new abilities. They wished to eliminate a rival civilization on a distant world. The human's hand rose. For the first time, a flicker of anger crossed his ancient eyes. The wish was granted, but the universe did not respond as expected. Instead, small anomalies appeared. Stars blinked out for a moment. Strange distortions in space bent light around them, and a single alien ship vanished without explanation. Impossible, Kale shouted, fear creeping in. The human's voice was steady, almost sorrowful. You have ignored warnings. You have broken the first rule. Now, reality begins to correct itself. And when the next rule is broken, there will be no turning back. The aliens looked at one another, confusion and fear spreading faster than any joy they had felt. For the first time they realized that this ancient human was not a tool. He was a force beyond their understanding. Patient and watching, waiting for the moment they would learn the cost of their arrogance. The Valori Union had pushed too far. Time itself began to feel wrong. A star that burned steadily one moment flickered the next. Communication signals arrived scrambled. Even the crew felt awed, thoughts slipping, emotions tangled with no cause. Commander Kale refused to see it. It's a small glitch, he said, though his voice trembled. A minor problem. We control this now. She had watched the human for hours, seeing how reality seemed to bend around him. No, Kale. He's not like us. He's older, smarter. We are playing with something we don't understand. The human rose from the monolith. His eyes were deep, patient, and filled with a quiet warning. You have broken the second rule, he said. No wish may be made in fear or for dominance. You wish to destroy others, to rule by force. That is forbidden. And now, the consequences will reach far beyond your control. Panic spread through the Valori Union. Ships shuddered in orbit. Stars blinked out. Even Kale's own mind seemed to falter. Memories of past victories slipping like sand through fingers. What do you mean? Cowell shouted. We wanted peace. We wanted power to protect our empire. The human's voice was calm, but carried weight no alien could resist. You confuse power with wisdom. You mistake fear for control. Your empire is fragile, and your desires have shattered the balance. Tira realized the truth. The human was not a god, he was a failsafe. The first humans had discovered wish power long ago, and it had almost destroyed everything. They built this being to prevent the same mistake in the future. Kale's pride crumbled. Then, can you fix it? He asked, desperation breaking through arrogance. The human's expression softened. I can, but only in the way humans understand, with consequences, not commands. He gestured once, and the Valori fleet felt a strange pull, like gravity twisting in impossible ways. The ships were not destroyed, they simply became irrelevant. Weapons no longer worked as expected. Engines failed to respond to commands. Even the largest planet-sized ship seemed weightless, adrift in a sea of probability. The aliens realized with horror that they had been given exactly what they wanted, but nothing functioned the way they imagined. Their rivals, long destroyed in the wish, had survived in hidden dimensions. Entire civilizations outside their sight began to rebuild. Kale sank to the ground, trembling. We are nothing. The human spoke one last time. You were given power without understanding. That is humanity's oldest lesson. You have learned it too late. Tira looked at him, awe and fear mingling. The being was still, waiting, patient. She understood finally that humans had survived and thrived, not by sheer strength, but by thinking ahead, accepting consequences, and respecting rules that govern reality itself. The ancient human returned to the monolith, his form fading into stillness. The Valori Union was left with power they could not use, lessons they could barely comprehend, and a universe slowly returning to balance. For the first time, the aliens realized humans had never needed empires to survive. Their wisdom was the true weapon, the invisible force that outlasted time itself. And in the quiet, a single rule glowed faintly on the black stone: power without restraint is destruction. The Valori Union's empire lay in ruins, though no one had fired a weapon. Ships floated aimlessly, engines silent. Entire fleets were useless, like toys left on a table. The aliens were alive, but their power had become meaningless. Commander Kale sat alone in his command chamber, staring at the stars. "We had everything," he muttered. "All the power, and now, nothing." Kira knelt beside him. "You wanted control, Kale. You thought we could bend the universe to our will, but it was never that simple." Far beneath the shattered moon, the ancient human rested once more inside his monolith. His eyes were closed, but the weight of his presence seemed to stretch across the stars. The Valori Union had learned the hard way. Power without understanding was chaos. One by one, the surviving aliens began to comprehend the lesson. Their arrogance had been their undoing. They had sought domination, but humans had shown them a different path, one of patience, foresight, and respect for balance. Tira looked at Kale. "He didn't destroy us. We destroyed ourselves by ignoring the rules. That's the human way: thinking, planning, learning from consequences." Kyle swallowed hard, shame and awe mingling in his chest. "So, humans, they were smarter all along?" "They always are," Tira whispered. Across the galaxy, distant civilizations slowly began to rise. Planets once lost to war or neglect became habitable again. The ripples of human wisdom spread quietly, invisible to those who had ignored it, but powerful enough to reset the course of history. The human remained silent in the monolith, patient as ever. His role was not to rule, not to grant endless power, but to teach restraint. Centuries would pass, empires would rise and fall, yet the lesson remained. Survival required more than strength. It required wisdom, balance, and humility. Kyle finally stood, looking out at the silent fleet. "We were fools," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "And yet, I think we understand now." Tira smiled faintly. "That is the human way, not to conquer, but to guide, not to dominate, but to survive." The monolith shimmered one last time, as if acknowledging her words. Then, slowly, it sealed itself completely, hiding the ancient human once more. The universe returned to its quiet rhythm, no longer twisted by foolish wishes, no longer shaped by arrogance. Long after the Valori Union faded from history, humans, long thought extinct, returned to the stars. They came not to rule, but to teach. They came not for power, but for balance. And every civilization that listened grew stronger, wiser, and safer. A single human message remained, encoded in the fabric of space-time, glowing faintly in every corner of the galaxy. Power without restraint is not evolution. It is extinction. Learn or fall. And for the first time, the stars seemed to shine differently, as if acknowledging the quiet triumph of humanity, not through violence, but through wisdom. The universe had survived humanity's oldest secret, and in doing so, humans had become the most enduring force of all.